So what I'd like to do here is help you clarify your career goals with two powerful coaching exercises. This is not for everyone, and it is designed for knowledge professionals with at least 5 years of professional experience. We're talking bankers, consultants, lawyers, and many other types of professions where your knowledge has high value. And for those people who, struggle with low levels of motivation, are not really clear about their goals, they're not happy with their current role, and maybe they also feel stuck where they are in their current situation. And maybe also for people who feel like they have a lot to fulfill, a lot more potential that they could achieve, but they're not in a situation where they can right now. And for many of them as well, they're afraid of wasting more precious lifetime. They want to make the most of their life, and currently they feel like they aren't. And for the people we work with, they're just not sure how to change the situation. So that's where they feel a little stuck, and they'd like to get some support to make a difference to their current situation. And I want to say, you're not alone. There are many people in your situation, a lot of people who are not clear about where they're going, and we're here to help. And we're here to help, and it doesn't have to be this way. You can take control over your career, over your life, and be on the driver's seat instead of being on the passenger seat. So what I'll do is I'll be leading you through two powerful coaching exercises that will help you gain new perspectives on your career and get away from, maybe sort of a tunnel vision that you currently have because you've been in that situation maybe for too long and it's difficult to get a bit of a helicopter view and gain new insights on the situation. And what you will experience is to give you an idea of what you can experience in our 6-week course to help people find direction. And the 6-week course is really designed to help people take control over their careers. So with this 6-week course, you'll know what you want and don't want. You'll have a clear career goal and plan. You'll be focused and grounded, and you'll have a lot more energy and motivation. And the two coaching exercises that I will lead you through will actually help you achieve part of this. Not all of it because it requires more work, but at least will help you go in that direction.
And now I'd like to talk about who we are. And to do this properly, I'd like to switch the video on me now. So hi, I'm Greg Lemaitre. And as a coach, I love introducing myself, talking about my values, about what is important to me. And so what is most important to me, number one, is my family. Well, I've got a great wife, lovely wife, 3 children, and they are the most precious thing to me. Nature is very important to me as well, and I love being in nature. I love spending time there in the mountains, running in the forests, just hiking, camping. And I love the idea that I'm not harming it as much as I could, and also, do my little things to protect it as much as possible. What's also very important to me is having impact at scale, and that's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing here with Derby and with trying to share those great, powerful tools to you. And finally, what's really important to me is learning and feeling like I'm developing myself. And this continuous learning is something that I really value. Now, a few words about me. I, talk about all of this from personal experience because I was climbing the corporate ladder, and the more senior I was becoming, the less meaning my job had. And the problem was that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So now I'd be talking to people, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, reading books, reading articles and blogs, and all these things, but they didn't really help me. Coaching helped me. It helped me to find my path. And through coaching, I discovered those very powerful coaching tools. And that's why I became a coach. They fascinated me. And I saw the power. And now, as a coach, I have been using those tools with my clients to help them find direction. And that's what we do now with DRB. So now to talk a bit about our experience, I'm going to switch it back to the presentation so that you can see a bit about us and so who we are, the Derby team, the people who will be um, leading those courses. So first of all, together we've helped thousands of individuals to find direction. And so I'm Greg, and I'm a leadership and career coach. And before doing this, I was VP in a multinational. I was in charge of quite a few businesses, employing lots of people. Uh, and before this, I been very fortunate to be employed in the industry of a startup, and then became the leader of that business and grew the business to 100 people. And then we've got Barbara, who is our head coach, fantastic career and systems coach. She is also a trainer for aspiring coaches, and she knows a lot about people like you because she's headhunted people from the big consultancies to help them find jobs there. And before this, she was a city lawyer. Um, so I think with this, you understand a bit more about who we are. And of course, if you've got questions, don't hesitate to ask and email to me. Thanks.
So this is not for everyone, and for this to really work, the exercises that I will lead you through, but also for the 6-week course, really requires honesty from your side, that you go through a truthful self-examination. I will ask you to observe your emotions. Um, and I'd like you to be a little playful and curious and explore the possibilities, and try and look beyond, what is your current situation. And will sometimes require courage, to look at things that may not be pleasant or that may be, really different. And obviously making changes as well can be scary. And and you've got to take ownership. I can't do the change for you. I can help. We can help, support, guide you, but you have the answers and you have to do the work. So let me drive you through coaching exercise number one. That's called the Wheel of Life. It's also a preparation for the second exercise. What you need for this is a pen and paper, because you will actually write down the answers to some of the questions that I will ask you. If you don't have a pen and paper, just press pause on the recording and go get them. And I really insist on you writing down the answers. It makes a big difference between a low impact exercise and a high impact exercise. It activates different part of the brains, and it will yield vastly different results if you write down your answers. So please do so, and please press pause if you don't have a pen and paper. And when you write down your answers, just write really fast without thinking. Write what comes from you, because that will come from a deeper part of your brain that is more true, if you want. And then please press pause each time you answer a question, because I will keep moving. And if you want as well, and at the end of both exercises, or one of them, you can send me your notes, and I'll be really delighted to see your notes. And I'll be sharing my email address at the end of this recording. So what I'd like you to have a look at is those life areas. They are the drivers of our satisfaction in our life. And they're not all of the drivers, but they're the main drivers that people tend to name, when they talk about their satisfaction in life. Relationships, is broadly, friends and family. Your environment is about home and surrounding, and maybe there are different things, that are important to you and that are drivers of your own satisfaction, and that's fine. And what I'd like you to do is to pick the 2 or 4 priority areas of your life, the ones that you care for the most. And when you look at those life areas, you may be wondering, well, why are we talking about all of this when this is supposed to be about career? Uh, well, because our careers impact not only our career, but almost everything else. We spend so much time working. It's got such a big impact on us that um, actually it's helpful to know what do we want on certain areas of our life that may impact or be impacted by our career. So, for example, health is impacted by a career with the level of stress that we experience at work. And our career also can affect our relationships. For example, if we work a lot of hours, then it may be harder to keep up with our friends and family. Okay, so please pick 2 to 4 priority areas of your life. And um, what I'd like you to do now is with your pen and paper, so you can put the paper in a landscape mode, and for each priority area that you picked, make a column and separate the sheet in columns of broadly similar sizes, and you can leave some space at the bottom. And I'm showing an example here. And obviously, there may not be the priority areas that you picked yourself. And so you should end up with 2 to 4 columns named after the priority areas that you picked. And you should have a bit of space at the bottom because I'll ask you some questions that are more you know, for the overall exercise. And what I'll do now is ask you 3 questions for each priority area. And what I ask you to do is answer the question for all of your priority areas and press pause to write down your answers. So to question number 1, maybe you can fill the sentence, for each priority area, this priority area is important because. So you can write, it is so important because, and continue the sentence. And I will press pause and I'll let you answer or fill the gap for the 3 sentences. Okay, I'm going to go to question 2, so press pause if you haven't yet. Question 2, for each priority area, write down your current satisfaction level between a score of 0 and 10. 0 being not satisfied at all and 10 being perfectly satisfied. And be honest with yourself, and there is no good or bad. It's just helpful to know what is your current perception of your satisfaction today. To do this for each priority area, and I will move to question 3. So if you haven't finished, you can press pause on this recording. So question 3, for each priority area, finish the sentence, the ideal situation would be. So if you had a magic wand, what would your career look like, your relationships, your health, just whatever priority area that you look at, describe in detail what the ideal situation would be. So describe in detail for each of the priority areas that you wrote the ideal situation. So press pause and resume when you're done for each of the priority area. So now I'd like to ask a 4th question, and here it is to look at your answers in totality. So looking at your answers, is there anything that you notice, or reread your answers, and is there anything that you notice from them? Are there any patterns? Anything that surprised you? And just write it down at the bottom of the sheet that you have. Take a bit of time to do this. You don't have to go too fast, but write what comes first to mind. So I'll move to question 5, so press pause if you haven't finished. So question number 5, what is important about what you noticed? And it could be also a feeling, by the way, that you experienced while you were answering one of the questions. So what is important about what you noticed in question number 4? Just pause for a little bit and ask yourself that question. And then we'll move to question number 6, and then we'll be done with this coaching exercise. And now what I'd like you to do is get into action mode. So pick one priority area that you want to improve the most, and maybe that is the most important to you. And so what is the one action you could take now or in the next 24 hours to get closer to your ideal? There's something that would make a real difference that you've maybe pushed back for a long time, or maybe a new insight that you got just from that exercise. So what one action could you take now to get closer to your ideal in that one priority area? And you need to be doing this in the next 24 hours. And ideally, actually, you can even do it now and press pause for it a little longer. Okay, so I'll move on to coaching exercise number 2. And if you haven't finished the exercise number 1, that's fine. Press pause and resume later. So moving to coaching exercise number 2, this is what we call projection. And again, you're very welcome to send me your notes at the end of the projection. Just little word of context. This is an experiential exercise. You'll be experiencing things. You'll actually be moving. You need to be in a space that is without interruptions for 10 minutes. And you need to be comfortable, being led by someone like me right now on a recording. And if that's too difficult for you, that's fine. And if you feel uneasy at any time, you can just stop the recording, and that's fine. And again, I would be available to debrief if you need help after this. And again, I'll give you my email address at the end of this recording. You may be tempted to take notes. Don't while I guide you, because you'll be able to take notes right after. And so what we're going to do now is that I will guide you with a voice on this exercise, and that will take 10 minutes or a little less. All right, so by now you should be in a quiet space without interruptions, and you need to be able to move, right? And I invite you to be playful. Let go just for a short period of time of your rational mind. Give yourself this gift of a bit of play. And so at different points of the exercise, I will ask you some questions, and if you feel I'm going too fast, just don't hesitate to pause the recording. And also, if it feels right to you, you can answer the questions aloud. So I'd like to invite you to stand up now. And what I'd like you to do is to position yourself facing a window and as far from it as you can. So you probably have your back against a wall or a piece of furniture or a door, and that's fine. And you should have space for you in front of you to walk towards the window. And as we're standing this way, we can do just a brief exercise to be a little more present. So we'll take 3 deep breaths in through our nose and out slowly through our mouth. And so for the first deep breath, just notice the air flowing in and out of your body. And for the second breath, just feel your body relaxing as you exhale slowly. And for the third breath, exhale fully this time. And notice what is present for you right after this. Right. So maybe you have some thoughts crossing your mind, and that's perfectly normal. Maybe you're even wondering what will happen next, and just acknowledge that that's what you're thinking about, and it's fine. So we're standing here, and we're today. So make a note of the date, and look around you. What's around you? Notice also maybe how you're standing. And how does it feel to be standing the way you are? And just what is happening in your life today? So you're here, and your objective is to clarify your career goals. That's the reason you're here listening to me right now. And so describe, you know, out loud if you can, or mentally, what's your situation today on this objective, on clarifying your career goals? That's great. And maybe ask yourself, how does it feel to be in the situation? And describe that feeling. Great. So this is today. And now I'd like you to walk halfway into the room towards the window, just halfway. And as you stop halfway, this is where I'd like you to play a little bit and imagine that we are 3 weeks from when we started the exercise. And so make a note of the date, what day would we be, 3 weeks from when we started the exercise. And look around you and, pay attention to the new perspective, that you have from where you are. And try to imagine what would be happening to your life then in 3 weeks from when we started the exercise. Maybe there'd be a holiday coming up or an event or a birthday. Just picture what is happening for you in 3 weeks from when we started the exercise. And now as you think about clarifying your goals, what is possible for you, 3 weeks after we started this exercise? So what could you be doing in 3 weeks' time that would help you, clarify your goals? And if that was happening, what would you be busy with? And who could you be with? And if all of this was here, how would you feel? That's great. Thank you for playing so far. So we haven't finished yet. So now I would like you to walk to the window and to imagine that you are 6 weeks from when we started the exercise. So just pay attention to what is in front of you, literally. So what do you see? Maybe notice the colors and the objects and the textures and maybe even how the light is. And please let go of your rational mind, right? Just trust the process. Imagine that what you see outside and around you is what you see 6 weeks from when we started the exercise. So make a note of the date. And so what would be different 6 weeks from when we started the exercise? Maybe the weather would be a little different. Now, what would be happening in your life then? Maybe there would be some events. And now I'd like you to imagine that you have clarified your career goals. And we don't need to know what these goals are yet, right? So we're just imagining that you have clarified these goals. Okay? Play a little bit with this. So just imagine that you have clarified. It's fantastic. And if that was happening, what could you be doing? And what could your days look like? And who could you be with? And how would you feel? And be for a little moment with that feeling. Also, what is ahead of you? What are your priorities? And so for you to have reached the stage, what have you said yes to? That's great. And is there anything else? And for this to happen, what have you said no to? And when you say yes to these things and no to those things, how do you feel? Describe the feeling and be curious about it. And maybe you can even sense it somewhere in your body. And if you can, maybe put your hand on it. And now I'd like you to gently turn around and look at yourself standing there 6 weeks ago. And what can you see? Just describe the person that you see standing there 6 weeks ago. And what is important for you there? And finally, from this place of wisdom that you are in, what advice can you give to support yourself on your journey? It's fantastic. Maybe you can notice the emotions that may be coming up. And well done for allowing yourself to let go of your rational mind and to accept to play. And well done in gaining a new perspective on your current situation in your career. So you can take notes now, or even make a drawing, or even record yourself, whatever feels best for you. And what I'll do is I'll give you a chance to take notes of the key questions. So you can write down the answers to those key questions. So you can maybe use the other side of the sheet of paper that you had and write down the answer to those 5 questions. They're not all of the questions that I asked you in the guided visualization, but the key ones. And they're designed to help you make the most of the exercise. Really, they make a big difference, writing things down. And as always, write quickly without thinking too much and reconnecting with what you had. So, what is your key insight from this exercise? I'll move to question 2. You can pause if you're not done. Question 2. So describe what is possible for you, when you had clarified your career goals. What did that look like? What was going on in your life once you had clarified your career goals? Again, you may not have those goals in mind, and that's fine. It's just being in that state of having clarified those goals. What does that look like? What's possible then? I'll move to question 3. So you can pause if you haven't finished. So to get to that state of having you clarified your career goals, what do you have to say yes to? I'll let you list those things. It's important to know what you have to say yes to. I'll move to question 4. And if you haven't finished, you can press pause. What do you have to say no to? I'll move to the final question, and you can press pause if you haven't finished. So what advice would you give yourself today? And there is a hidden second question, actually, or 6th question. What action can you take today to act on this advice? This is really important. You have to take action, ideally now, at least in the next 24 hours, on this advice so that you get in motion with what you really want, which is clarifying your career goals. Get the wheel moving. I'll move to the next slide. You can press pause if you haven't finished. So now I invite you to share your answers. That will make you far more likely to actually do what you wrote you would do. And you don't need to share the whole answers. If you prefer, you could just share your actions that you wrote down from each of the exercises. And if you want, you can share them to me. Here is my email address, or you can share them to a buddy. So somebody ideally who doesn't have a vested interest in what you do, who may not be impacted by your decisions, but instead who really wants the best from you and has very little judgment on you and your actions. So hopefully, you realize that there are exercises that can help you clarify your career goals, that can clarify, for you what you really want and what you no longer want as well. You can build your confidence in your ability to say yes to doing certain things, um, to actually acting and moving forward, um, and also feel strong to say no, to have a grounding to reject the things that are not helpful for you anymore, that disrupt your life, that may be in your mind or maybe around you. And being able to say no to these things is very liberating for people. But to be able to do this, you need to know what you want. Just want to leave you with a few words. We've worked with thousands of individuals on such topics of finding direction. We've been trusted by people who were working at those prestigious companies and many other companies, of course. And I just want to leave you as well with very kind words of somebody who've been working with us, and he says, after going through the first couple of sessions, I've never been so sure as to what I wanted to do career-wise. And I hope maybe even with this exercise, you've gained a lot of insight. With the 6-week course, you'll get a lot more insight than you've gained here. And he's already now on his path, which feels really right. And you can feel that motivation, that energy, and the happiness that he actually writes down that we want to deliver to you through this 6-week course. And so now you've got a choice. Like every moment, you can keep brainstorming alone, and maybe you'll get somewhere, but we know how it feels, that it's actually difficult. Although it may not appear difficult, it may appear as the path of least resistance, the path that requires the least effort. But that's also the path that actually, over the long run, will require more work from you. And again, I know this from personal experience and from helping other people who have tried to find their answers too long on their own. And then you've got the other option, which is to go for the sky with the right support. I obviously really deeply believe that's the most effective way to know what you really want and get clarity on your career goals. Yes, it will require more effort from you in the short term, and you need to be ready to do this, but ultimately it will make your life far easier after. And with this, I wish you a great day. And again, don't hesitate to share your answers if you want to gain the most from those coaching exercises. Thanks a lot for listening and for playing with me.